Okay, so in the previous tape, tape 1, this is tape 2. So if you're watching tape 2, go back to tape 1. This is the end of my habit series. We talked about how we have this cycle. The cue is the emotion, the stress. We go to food, the neurons click on, and they get all excited. It alleviates bad feelings. We get that reward temporarily. We go back to food. And we also talked about how this started super long time ago. So this is a habit that has been built up decades old, at least in my case. Decades old, okay? So in the book, Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, which is where I'm getting my ideas and my information, he talks about a woman, and her name is Barbara, and she is a habitual gambler. And she stayed away. She gambled everything away. Her family, her house, her credit cards, everything. She gambled it all away because it made her feel good. I mean, the gambling, the excitement of gambling made her feel good. She gambled it all away. Then for a while, she was able to stay away from it. Her parents got ill. She started commuting back and forth to her parents' house. Parents both died, and she stopped being that caretaker, and she got these free offers to come back to gambling. And what was interesting is, she again gambled everything away. The house, she mortgaged her house. She had no money left. The inheritance she got from her parents after they died, gone. Everything gone. Gone. Even though she had developed habits in the interim before her first set of bad, she got involved in gambling, lost everything, developed good habits, staying away from the casinos. Stress came in. She relied back on those old habits and lost everything again. The proposition that Charles Duhigg makes in his habit book is that a lot of our habits are so built in neurologically that when we come down to the bare essence of who we are, whether that's stress from a parent dying, like I told you in the previous video, ultimate stress from a job where you start questioning your own worth and your own value and your own mores, where you get down to the very essence of who you are. You rely on habits that were developed over a longer period of time instead of the short-term habits that you've created that are good. And the thing that's interesting about this is that Alcoholics Anonymous knows this, did this kind of stuff without even kind of, I think, consciously understanding the research that goes behind this. For example, they know that many times, without support and without guidance, most people will relapse. But if you have a community set up, if you have a system that's in place, some kind of good habits set up, and you've got somebody that will always check in on you so that you are always constantly talking about your stress, talking about what's going on in your life, you're much less likely to relapse on bad habits and incorporate the new habits into stressful times. So oftentimes, like Barbara, despite all we do, set up good habits, set up good routines, drinking water, eating protein, exercising, hanging out at Back to Basics on Facebook, watching our YouTube, despite all we do, and all we do to prepare for bad consequences. We can and perhaps will fall back on bad habits. That's not to say that it's the end of the world. I mean, I talked about what happened to me. 18 pounds. That's a lot of weight. 18 pounds of brownies and cookies and all of that kind of stuff. The trick is to realize that you have those good habits that you can instantly go back to if you have already incorporated them into your life. I'm sorry, you should see my paper. It's kind of going around in a circle as I've written my notes. So we have the ability to start again. How do we realize that we have gone back into our old habits? The first thing is denial. The first thing that Barbara did when she went back into gambling is she denied that she was gambling again to her family. She lied to her family. I know that when I started overeating, I stopped getting on the scale. This is me. Everybody can be different. But I stopped getting on the scale. I stopped recording what I eat. I start eating bad food. I start hoarding food and hiding it from my family. Yeah. I will hoard it. I will hoard the food that I want for me, and I won't share it. And I will hide it. I will start hiding that I've been eating bad food. Like if I eat candy, I will not throw it in a garbage can that perhaps my children or my husband can see. I know that's weird, isn't it? Like they would really care that much. But research shows that people who have a habit, it gets ingrained in their brain, a bad habit I'm talking about, like overeating or gambling or alcohol. It gets ingrained in their brain such that their neurons fire when normal people's neurons do not fire. For example, they put a bunch of gamblers and non-gamblers in a casino. And Steve, could you get that out of the oven? Thanks. My dinner is cooking. They put a bunch of gamblers and non-gamblers in a casino. And they showed the images of slot machine symbols going by. The gamblers, even with a near miss, their neurons would rapidly fire. The non-gamblers would see, oh, well, I lost. What's the big deal? No neurons rapidly firing. I know from my own experience, I see visual images of food, my mouth will literally start to salivate. Doesn't matter. It could be food. I don't even have to be hungry. Well, does my husband salivate? No. I've asked. I've literally asked him. So his neurons are not wired in the same way to give a physiological response. And that's the thing, is that it's now not become an emotional response. It's become a physical response to the cue. Okay? The food has become a physical response. The gambling became a physical response. It's no longer just a habit. It is now physically ingrained in our brain. Okay, so now you're telling me that we're always going to have a physiological response? Perhaps. I know I do. I can talk about brownies, my mouth waters. I don't even have to see the damn brownie, and my mouth waters. So how do we get over this? Well, like Alcoholics Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous, that kind of thing, we have to, the key thing that scientists have found that work, I know this sounds so simple, the key thing is deciding to change. That's it. Deciding to change. Okay? Alcoholics Anonymous, very successful. They've got the best success rate of getting people who are addicted to alcohol off of alcohol. Best success rate. So when we decide in our brains that we will change that habit, we will. Okay, so looking through my notes. This brings me to William James. William James came from a very successful family, very wealthy family. His brother was a surgeon, and this is in the 1800s. But he was a sickly child. He couldn't seem to make a success out of his life. He quit medical school and went trekking through South America. Everything he did seemed to kind of fall on its face. And at one point, he decided, is suicide better than what I'm doing with my life? Because I'm just a royal fuck up, basically, you know? So he said, it's either suicide or I decide that I'm going to give it one last shot. So what William James decided to do is he decided that he would do the most moral thing possible and live the most upstanding life possible. He started with, remember in the very first video, the small win, he started with small habits. You know, it could be as like drinking your water, at least mine with Crystal Light, drinking your water, going on a walk, with the small change, not the big, huge, like do 5 habits at once, but the small change. He started with the small change. And he built, and those small changes, those small wins, build on other wins. And that's what he did. Eventually he got married. Eventually he had children. He used his knowledge from building habits into creating what is known as the psychology of habits in psychology now. He is considered kind of the father of how to create good habits. And he went from being a real screw up to somebody who led this extraordinarily moral life, did research into habits, and figured out how people's minds work, and they still use this stuff from the 1800s. This is all goes to show you that you might be the kind of person like me. You might be the kind of person like me who gets under stress, who feels the whole world has evaporated, there's nothing left to support you. And you go back to your old habits. You start eating brownies and cookies and whatever floats your boat. You know, whatever was, know this. You've already developed good habits. You can always go back to those good habits. You have the key to decide that those habits, whatever habits you have, can start today. You can build on habits. Habits build one on top of another. And if I gained nothing out of this entire book and doing this entire series with you guys and understanding habits, is knowing that I possess the power. I know that I control what I do. I know what I control when I put in my mouth, when I step on the scale. I know when I control how many liters of water I drink a day. I know I control all of it. And I know how I can control and maintain my weight. It's all a matter of going back to habits. And when you create a good habit, more good habits follow. And if we are creatures of habit, which we seemingly are, why not create the good habit like William James did? You know, you can either say I'm all screwed over, or you can say I'm going to give it this one last try and see how well I can do. I'm going to start with a small win. And from that, you can build on other good habits. It's possible. People have done it. People come back from relapse over and over and over again. So I'm going to leave you with that. I hope you enjoyed our talk about habits and what we get from our habits. I hope you think about habits. Again, the book is The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. I'll talk to you next week. Bye.